What if I told you that every day, we are surrounded by unseen forces that shape our decisions, beliefs, and even our identities? This is the realm of manipulation, an intricate dance of influence that can either uplift or undermine our autonomy. In this chapter, we will delve deep into the very essence of manipulation, exploring its historical roots and uncovering the subtle techniques that permeate our lives. The word manipulation often evokes dark imagery, yet it lies at the heart of social interaction. Ever since humans began to communicate, the art of persuasion has thrived. From ancient orators who could sway entire nations to contemporary advertisers who tap into our deepest desires, manipulation is a powerful tool. Understanding it, however, requires a nuanced perspective. One of the earliest documented uses of manipulation can be traced back to political figures. Take, for instance, the Roman statesman Cicero, who meticulously crafted speeches to sway opinions in the Senate. His work illustrates how language can be weaponized to alter public perception. And while these tactics have evolved, their core principles remain unchanged. Today, we recognize manipulation in various forms, be it in marketing, personal relationships, or media. A striking statistic from a 2017 study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology revealed that people are often unaware of the persuasive strategies being employed around them. In fact, 70% of respondents acknowledged that they felt influenced by advertisements, yet only 30% could identify the exact techniques used. Within our daily lives, manipulation often manifests subtly in the form of social influence. Think about your last conversation with a friend who convinced you to try a new restaurant. This seemingly innocuous instance bears the hallmarks of a technique known as social proof. Social proof relies on the idea that we look to others to guide our own choices. If everyone else is doing it, it must be the right thing to do. Now, consider how powerful this can become in larger social contexts. For instance, in 2020, a viral social media campaign urged individuals to adopt certain behaviors in response to the pandemic, demonstrating how collective action can drive personal decisions. The narrative of everyone is doing it permeated our daily conversations, showcasing the undeniable strength of social proof in shaping behavior. As we peel back the layers of manipulation, we also encounter the concept of framing. Framing is the act of presenting information in a way that influences perceptions. A classic example is the public discourse around health issues. An article may focus on the number of deaths caused by a disease, evoking fear, while another might highlight recovery rates, instilling hope. The frame chosen dramatically alters our emotional response and can influence public policy. This brings us to the psychological aspect of manipulation, the underlying motives driving individuals to manipulate others. Often, the intention behind manipulation can range from benevolent persuasion to malicious deceit. For example, consider a well-intentioned parent teaching their child to eat vegetables. Their manipulation may involve appealing to the child's desire for approval or using rewards to incentivize behavior. Conversely, a manipulative partner might use guilt or fear to exert control, crafting an environment where the other feels helpless. What does this mean for us? As we navigate the complex social landscape, it's crucial to cultivate a radar for manipulation, recognizing both its presence and its techniques. Awareness empowers us to make informed choices, protecting our interests while fostering healthier interactions. In conclusion, the art of deception is not merely a relic of the past, it is a living, breathing aspect of our existence that shapes every interaction. As we prepare to dive deeper into specific manipulation techniques, remember this: understanding manipulation does not strip away its power, but rather equips you with the insight to reclaim your autonomy. Stay with us as we uncover the specific techniques employed by manipulators and how you can safeguard yourself against their effects. In our journey through the maze of manipulation, we now turn our focus to the specific techniques employed by those who seek to influence others. These techniques are not just theoretical concepts, they are practical tools used in everyday interactions, from boardrooms to intimate relationships. Understanding these tactics will arm you with the knowledge to recognize and, more importantly, resist their effects. Let's start with reciprocity. This principle is rooted in the idea that when someone does something for us, we naturally feel compelled to return the favor. It's a foundational concept in social exchanges and is often exploited in marketing strategies. For example, when a company offers a free sample, they are not merely being generous, they are invoking reciprocity, banking on the notion that you will feel inclined to make a purchase in return. Studies show that this tactic is highly effective. A 2011 study published in the journal Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin revealed that participants who received a small gift were significantly more likely to agree to a subsequent request, even if it was unrelated. This demonstrates how deeply ingrained the reciprocity principle is in human nature. Moving on, we encounter the foot in the door technique. This strategy involves making a small request first, with the intent of paving the way for a larger request later on. It plays on our desire for consistency. For example, a charity organization may first ask you to sign a petition, and once you agree, they follow up with a request for a donation. The psychological hook is that people prefer to see themselves as consistent individuals, making them more likely to comply with larger requests after agreeing to smaller ones. In a fascinating study conducted by Friedman and Fraser in 1966, researchers found that participants who initially agreed to a small request, signing a petition, were over 17 times more likely to agree to a subsequent larger request, placing a sign in their yard, than those who had not been approached with the initial request. Next on our list is door in the face. This technique is a strategic counterpart to the foot in the door method. Here, an individual is first presented with a large request that they are likely to refuse. Following that refusal, a smaller request is made that seems more reasonable in comparison. This tactic operates on the principle of contrast, making the smaller request seem much more palatable. Imagine a scenario where a sales representative first asks you to buy a high-end product. When you decline, they switch to a slightly less expensive option, which now appears to be a bargain. Research indicates that the door-in-the-face technique can increase compliance levels significantly, as demonstrated in a study published in Psychological Bulletin in 1975. Now, let's discuss the lowball technique, which involves providing an attractive offer, only to reveal additional costs or conditions after the individual has already committed to the purchase. This technique exploits the psychological commitment established by the initial agreement. For example, an individual might agree to buy a car at a specific price, only to later be informed of extra fees. The commitment to the purchase creates a feeling of obligation, making it difficult for the buyer to back out. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research in 2008 emphasized how lowballing significantly increases the likelihood of compliance, as people often wish to avoid feeling like they have wasted their time or effort. Next, we have authority. The influence of authority figures on our behavior cannot be overstated. This principle suggests that people are more likely to comply with requests made by individuals they perceive as authority figures. Think of a doctor recommending a treatment or a teacher assigning homework. Their position inherently establishes a level of trust and respect. This was famously demonstrated in the Milgram experiment in the 1960s, where individuals were willing to administer what they believed were dangerous shocks simply because an authority figure instructed them to do so. In today's world, authority can manifest in various forms, be it a celebrity endorsing a product or a corporate leader sharing insights. Understanding how authority influences behavior can help us critically evaluate the sources of information we encounter daily. Lastly, we must address scarcity, which operates on the principle that people are more motivated to acquire something if they believe it is in limited supply. This is often leveraged in marketing through phrases like limited time offer or only a few items left. The fear of missing out, FOMO, plays a significant role in this manipulation technique. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that individuals were more likely to purchase an item when told that it was scarce. This demonstrates the psychological pull that scarcity holds over our decision-making processes. In conclusion, understanding these techniques equips us to recognize when we might be falling victim to manipulation. Awareness is the first step toward empowerment. As we move into the next chapter, we will explore how to identify manipulators and their tactics, enhancing our ability to navigate through the complexities of human interaction. Are you ready to uncover the signs? As we continue our exploration into the world of manipulation, it becomes essential to understand not only the techniques employed but also how to identify those who wield these tactics. Manipulators can exist in various walks of life, from personal relationships to corporate environments. So, how do we recognize them? Let's delve into the telltale signs that signal manipulative behavior. One of the most prominent red flags of manipulators is their tendency to use guilt. Manipulators often exploit emotional vulnerabilities to sway others. You may find yourself feeling guilty for not helping a friend, even when you have valid reasons for your hesitance. For example, a partner might say, "If you loved me, you would do this for me," using guilt as a weapon to coerce your compliance. Research from the University of California, Berkeley, highlights how guilt can significantly influence decision-making, often leading individuals to act against their better judgment in an effort to appease others. This illustrates just how powerful guilt can be as a manipulation tool. Next, we encounter the concept of gaslighting, a term that has garnered significant attention in recent years. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation aimed at making someone question their reality or feelings. A classic example is a partner who denies events that occurred, making the other person doubt their memory. This can lead to severe emotional distress and confusion, leaving the victim feeling isolated in their experience. A 2018 study published in Psychology of Consciousness indicated that individuals who experience gaslighting are more likely to develop anxiety and depression over time. The damaging effects of this manipulative technique can fundamentally alter an individual's perception of reality. Another red flag is a consistent pattern of emotional volatility. Manipulators often oscillate between affection and hostility, creating an unpredictable emotional environment. This technique is designed to keep individuals off balance, making them more susceptible to compliance. You might notice that a friend who is usually supportive suddenly becomes critical, and you find yourself walking on eggshells around them. Incredibly, a 2020 study published in Personality and Individual Differences found that individuals in relationships characterized by emotional volatility reported lower levels of overall satisfaction and higher levels of anxiety. This emotional instability not only disrupts personal relationships but can also impact professional dynamics. Furthermore, manipulators often display a lack of accountability. They may refuse to accept responsibility for their actions, instead projecting blame onto others. This deflection tactic allows them to avoid consequences while placing the burden on their victims. Consider a colleague who consistently misses deadlines yet blames team members for not providing adequate support. This behavior creates a toxic work environment, fostering resentment and frustration. A 2017 report from the American Psychological Association indicated that individuals who lack accountability in relationships are more likely to perpetuate cycles of manipulation and conflict. This highlights the importance of recognizing this red flag early on to protect yourself from potential emotional harm. Another warning sign is overcomplimenting. Manipulators often use flattery as a way to disarm potential victims, creating an atmosphere of trust before they move in for the persuasion. Compliments can feel good, but over-the-top praise may be a tactic to gain favor. For instance, a salesperson might lavish praise upon you, making you feel valued and appreciated in order to close a sale, essentially using compliments as a tool of manipulation. Research published in the Journal of Consumer Marketing underscores this tactic's effectiveness, indicating that excessive flattery can lead to increased compliance. Lastly, pay attention to the language manipulators use. They may employ vague or convoluted speech, creating confusion and leaving you uncertain. Statements like "I always do what's best for you" or "you should know that I care about you" may sound benign but can often mask ulterior motives. This kind of ambiguous communication can cause individuals to feel manipulated, as they struggle to understand the true intent behind the words. In conclusion, recognizing the red flags of manipulation is crucial in safeguarding yourself from potentially harmful interactions. Awareness is your first defense against those who seek to control or influence your thoughts and actions. As we move forward into the next chapter, we will discuss how to effectively protect yourself against manipulation techniques and fortify your defenses. Stay tuned, because empowering yourself against manipulation is the next step in this journey. Equipped with knowledge about manipulation techniques and the characteristics of manipulators, we now embark on the critical journey of how to protect ourselves from these psychological tactics. Awareness is key, but it is not enough. We must actively reinforce our boundaries and develop strategies to safeguard our mental well-being. Let's explore several effective ways to fortify ourselves against manipulation. First, establishing clear personal boundaries is paramount. When you have defined your limits, you create a protective barrier that manipulators find challenging to breach. This can be as simple as stating your needs clearly in a relationship. For instance, if a friend frequently borrows money, you might say, "I appreciate you, but I cannot lend you money anymore." This clear boundary communicates your intent and reduces the likelihood of being manipulated through emotional appeals. A study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships in 2015 found that individuals with established boundaries reported higher levels of psychological well-being and lower levels of anxiety. This illustrates how boundaries not only protect us from manipulation but also enhance our overall mental health. Next, honing your emotional awareness is vital. Being attuned to your feelings can help you recognize when someone is attempting to manipulate you. Taking a moment to pause and reflect on how a conversation makes you feel can provide valuable insights into whether someone is trying to coerce you. For example, if you frequently feel anxious or uncomfortable when speaking with a particular individual, it might indicate a manipulative dynamic. A 2019 study from the University of Michigan highlighted the importance of emotional awareness in interpersonal relationships, showing that individuals who were more emotionally aware were better equipped to manage emotional manipulation and resist coercive tactics. Additionally, developing assertive communication skills can significantly enhance your ability to stand your ground against manipulators. Assertiveness involves expressing your thoughts and feelings openly and honestly without aggression. For example, instead of succumbing to guilt when a friend asks for a favor, you can confidently say, "I am unable to help right now," without feeling guilty. Research from the Journal of Assertiveness shows that assertive individuals are less likely to be manipulated and report higher levels of satisfaction in their relationships. This is because assertiveness fosters respect and clarity in communication, making it harder for manipulators to distort your intentions. Next, practice active listening. Manipulators often exploit misunderstandings, so when you actively listen, you create an environment of clarity. Reflecting back what you hear can help to dispel any potential manipulation. For instance, if someone makes a dramatic claim, you might respond with, "What I hear is that you feel strongly about this. Can you tell me more about your perspective?" This approach invites open dialogue and can help you discern genuine intentions. A study from the International Journal of Listening in 2018 revealed that active listening was associated with healthier communication patterns and reduced likelihood of interpersonal conflict. Moreover, it's essential to cultivate a support network. Surrounding yourself with people who offer honest feedback can act as a buffer against manipulation. Whether it's friends, family, or a therapist, these individuals can provide insights that may reveal manipulative tactics you may not notice on your own. Research from the Journal of Family Psychology indicates that strong social support enhances resilience and improves emotional well-being, making it more difficult for manipulators to exert influence. Lastly, trust your instincts. If something feels off in a situation, it often is. Intuition can serve as a powerful warning signal that a manipulative dynamic is at play. Don't ignore that gut feeling, it is a vital part of your protective arsenal against manipulation. In summary, protecting yourself from manipulation requires proactive measures, emotional awareness, and the establishment of sturdy boundaries. As we approach the final chapter, we will explore case studies of manipulation at large and reflect on how these strategies can be implemented in real-world contexts. Stay with us as we unveil how ordinary individuals have navigated the labyrinth of manipulation and emerged empowered. To bring our exploration of manipulation full circle, we will examine real-world case studies that illustrate the various manipulation techniques we've discussed. These narratives shed light on the complexities of human relationships and the tactics employed by manipulators. By unpacking these stories, we can better understand how to apply our newfound knowledge in practical scenarios. Our first case study revolves around a corporate environment, where manipulation can often go unnoticed until its effects are felt. Consider a scenario involving a high-pressure sales manager who utilizes the scarcity technique to drive sales. By exaggerating the limited availability of a product, he pressures his team into a frenzy of calls and pitches. The result? A significant spike in sales, but at the cost of strained relationships and high turnover rates among employees who felt manipulated and undervalued. A survey conducted by the Society for Human Resource Management in 2021 found that companies with manipulative leadership styles faced 35% higher turnover rates. This demonstrates how manipulation not only affects individuals but also impacts organizational culture and productivity. Next, we move to the personal realm. Take a look at the story of Sarah, a young woman who found herself in a relationship characterized by gaslighting. Her partner frequently denied events that caused her distress, leading her to question her memory and perceptions. Over time, Sarah spiraled into anxiety and isolation as she grappled with her reality. It wasn't until she confided in close friends about her experiences that she began to recognize the manipulative tactics at play. Armed with the support of her friends, Sarah sought therapy and learned to reclaim her sense of self. A 2020 study published in Journal of Interpersonal Violence emphasizes the importance of social support for individuals in gaslighting situations, highlighting that those with strong support systems were able to recognize and counteract manipulation effectively. Now let's look at the challenging dynamics of friendship manipulation, as illustrated in the story of Mark. He often found himself lending money to a friend who would impose guilt whenever Mark resisted. Over time, Mark realized that he was being manipulated by using the technique of guilt tripping, leading him to establish firm boundaries. Through consistent communication about his limitations, Mark regained control over his finances and emotional well-being. This case illustrates the broader pattern of individuals recognizing and countering manipulative tactics in friendships. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Applied Communication Research revealed that individuals who established boundaries within friendships reported significant improvements in overall satisfaction and reduced feelings of guilt. Finally, let's examine the influence of social media on manipulation, focusing on the phenomenon of influencers. Many social media influencers utilize techniques like authority and reciprocity to persuade their followers to purchase products. For instance, a popular beauty influencer may laud a skincare product, creating a sense of trust and authority among their audience. However, this often leads to consumers making purchases based on social influence rather than personal need. A 2021 report from the Digital Marketing Institute found that 60% of consumers admitted to purchasing products they didn't need after being influenced by social media personalities. This demonstrates how manipulation can transcend personal relationships, extending into our digital interactions and purchasing behaviors. In closing, these case studies bring to life the reality of manipulation in various contexts, allowing us to see its effects up close. As we conclude this chapter, remember that awareness and knowledge are your greatest allies against manipulation. In our final segment, we will reflect on the key points we've covered and explore how you can continue to empower yourself in navigating the complexities of human interactions. Stay tuned. As we delve deeper into the world of manipulation, we encounter a particularly insidious form known as emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulators are skilled at exploiting our feelings to achieve their own goals. They often employ tactics like guilt-tripping, fear-mongering, and playing the victim. These methods can be so subtle that we may not even realize we're being manipulated until it's too late. To illustrate this, let's consider the story of Lisa, a high-achieving professional who found herself entangled in a toxic relationship with her colleague, Mark. Mark had a way of weaving emotional narratives that played on Lisa's empathy. Whenever Lisa would confront him about his inappropriate behavior, he would respond with intense expressions of sadness, making her feel guilty for wanting to address the issues. This cycle of guilt became a powerful tool, leading Lisa to suppress her feelings to keep the peace. Research shows that emotional manipulation can be effective because it relies on our innate desire to connect and help others. According to a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, individuals are more likely to comply with requests when they feel emotionally invested. This makes emotional manipulators incredibly dangerous. Guilt, for instance, is a common weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. An emotional manipulator may use phrases like, "If you really cared about me, you would." This creates a sense of obligation, positioning the manipulator as deserving of compassion while sidestepping their own responsibility. Another technique is fear. Emotional manipulators often create scenarios where a person feels they are at risk, be it losing a job, a relationship, or social standing. The fear of loss can drive people to act against their own interests. A study from the University of Chicago revealed that people are more likely to make irrational decisions when they perceive a threat, highlighting the power of fear as a manipulation tactic. As we unpack the techniques of emotional manipulation, it's vital to recognize the impact on mental health. Victims can experience anxiety, depression, and a diminished sense of self-worth. Patterns of emotional manipulation can lead to long-term psychological trauma, isolating the victim further as they struggle with self-doubt. Protecting oneself from emotional manipulation starts with awareness. Understanding that your emotions are being weaponized is the first step. Building emotional intelligence helps in recognizing and addressing manipulative behaviors before they take root. In the aftermath, Lisa sought therapy, where she learned about boundaries and the importance of self-advocacy. She began to recognize the signs of emotional manipulation. Her journey emphasizes that healing and empowerment are possible even after being subjected to such tactics. As we move forward, we must ask ourselves, how often do we let our emotions dictate our decisions? What steps can we take to ensure our feelings are not used against us? Covert manipulation is a stealthy form that often flies under the radar, making it particularly challenging to identify. It proliferates in various contexts, workplaces, friendships, and even intimate relationships. These manipulators operate in the shadows, using subtlety and cunning to achieve their ends without raising immediate alarm. Let's explore the story of David, a manager whose leadership style exemplified covert manipulation. David was liked by his team, but he often employed tactics that went unnoticed. He would withhold praise until employees had completed their tasks to his liking. By doing so, he instilled a sense of uncertainty among his team members. This uncertainty led them to overwork themselves, trying to win David's approval. This dynamic is a classic case of covert manipulation. David used the guise of leadership to instill fear of rejection. Studies have shown that leaders who practice covert manipulative tactics can create an environment of anxiety and stress, resulting in high turnover rates and employee dissatisfaction. According to a report from Gallup, companies with poor managerial practices can lose up to $480 billion annually due to disengagement in the workforce. Another common form of covert manipulation is gaslighting. The term stems from the 1944 film Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into doubting her reality. Gaslighting can lead to severe cognitive dissonance, where the victim's perception of reality is altered, making them question their sanity. Recognize that gaslighters often dismiss your feelings and twist conversations to undermine your confidence. In a study conducted by the University of Southern California, researchers found that gaslighters often employ denial, misdirection, and contradiction, leading victims to feel powerless. Understanding these tactics is crucial for those who feel trapped in relationships with covert manipulators. David's team eventually caught on to his methods. They banded together to confront him, highlighting how his tactics alienated them. This confrontation led to David listening to their grievances, which was a turning point. It shows that awareness and teamwork can dismantle covert manipulation. As we examine the broader implications of covert manipulation, it's essential to realize its impact on societal dynamics. Be it in politics, marketing, or interpersonal relationships, the ability to manipulate perceptions is pervasive. We should ask ourselves, how can we cultivate environments of transparency and trust instead? Awareness is the first step to dismantling these manipulative tactics. Can we create spaces where manipulation is recognized and addressed? Social media has become a powerful tool for manipulation in our digital age. Platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter can amplify manipulative techniques, reaching millions with just a click. As users scroll through curated lives and highlighted successes, they become susceptible to various forms of social influence. To illustrate, consider the phenomenon of influencers, individuals who wield significant power over their followers. Many influencers master the art of emotional manipulation, using relatability to sell products or ideologies. Research by Pew Research Center found that nearly 70% of teens feel pressure to portray themselves perfectly online, reflecting a manipulated self-image fueled by social media. One poignant example is the infamous Fyre Festival, marketed as a luxurious music festival. Promoted by influencers and celebrities, it painted a picture of paradise that led thousands to purchase exorbitantly priced tickets. Instead, attendees were met with tents, inadequate food, and shattered dreams. This incident highlights how social media can be exploited to manipulate perceptions and drive decisions. Statistics show that nearly 61% of individuals admit to feeling inadequate when comparing themselves to others on social media. This overwhelming pressure to conform can shape behaviors and decisions in harmful ways. Furthermore, clickbait titles and sensationalized headlines become manipulative tools in news feeds, feeding into a cycle of misinformation. Manipulators on social media thrive on creating a sense of urgency or scarcity, common tactics in marketing. Limited time offers or exclusive content can compel individuals to act quickly, often against their better judgment. Harvard Business Review articles suggest this strategy can increase conversion rates from 30% to 70%, demonstrating its efficacy. So how do we combat social media manipulation? Critical media literacy is paramount. Encouraging reflection on what we consume and recognize when we are being manipulated can serve as a powerful defense. Training oneself to question the intent behind social media posts is vital. As we wrap up this chapter, one thought remains: in a world increasingly driven by digital interactions, how can we ensure authenticity prevails? Can we cultivate a digital landscape where transparency and truthfulness triumph over manipulation? While manipulation may often be viewed through a negative lens, there are ethical gray areas that warrant examination. Not all manipulation is malicious. In some cases, it can serve beneficial purposes. For instance, persuasive communication in advertising or public health campaigns aims to motivate positive behavior changes. Consider the Truth Campaign, targeting smoking cessation among youth. This campaign leveraged manipulative techniques, such as vivid imagery and shocking statistics, to highlight the dangers of smoking. The result? A significant decline in youth smoking rates. Studies reveal that manipulated messaging can effectively challenge harmful behaviors when grounded in ethical considerations. However, the distinction between ethical and unethical manipulation can be blurred. What might be considered a harmless nudge could devolve into coercion in other contexts. A prime example is the controversial practice of using psychological tactics in political campaigns, popularly known as microtargeting. Researchers from MIT found that microtargeting can lead to significant voter manipulation, raising ethical concerns about how data is used to influence behavior. The Cambridge Analytica scandal further demonstrated the potential for manipulation to spiral out of control. By accessing data from millions without consent, they crafted personalized political ads, targeting users based on psychological profiles. The fallout from this event underscored the urgency for robust regulations surrounding data privacy and ethical standards in political marketing. As we grapple with the complexities of manipulation, we must also consider the implications for personal integrity. Engaging in manipulative behaviors, even for ostensibly good causes, can set a dangerous precedent. How often do we rationalize our methods for the sake of the outcome? The pursuit of ethical manipulation invites a broader discussion. Where do we draw the line? Navigating these ethical waters requires ongoing dialogue and awareness. As individuals, we possess the power to hold ourselves accountable and assess our actions critically. Can we commit to transparency in our persuasive efforts? As we transition into the final chapter, let's reflect on the lessons learned about manipulation and the road ahead toward a more ethical future. In our concluding chapter, we focus on empowerment, how to take the lessons we've gathered about manipulation and use them to fortify ourselves. The key to combating manipulation lies in awareness, education, and building resilience. Understanding the psychological techniques employed by manipulators provides us with armor. Knowledge is power, and by familiarizing ourselves with the signs of manipulation, we shift the balance of power back into our hands. Practicing critical thinking and reflecting on our decisions enhances our ability to navigate social dynamics without falling prey to manipulation. One effective method for cultivating resilience is setting clear personal boundaries. When we define what behavior we will and will not accept, we create a buffer against manipulation. Consider the case of Sarah, who struggled with assertiveness in her relationships. Through coaching and self-reflection, she learned to articulate her needs and stand firm in her convictions. As a result, her relationships transformed from being sources of stress to supportive connections. Moreover, surrounding ourselves with a strong support system amplifies our resilience against manipulation. Friends and family who reinforce our values and encourage us to speak up help drown out the voices that seek to manipulate us. Engaging in open discussions about manipulation and sharing experiences fosters community awareness. Empowered individuals can share insights, creating a ripple effect that uplifts others and reinforces healthy interactions. The collective strength of a community can deter manipulative behaviors. As we reflect on our journey through manipulation techniques, we must also embrace the importance of self-reflection. Regularly assessing our motivations and behaviors allows for growth and awareness. Are we ever at risk of becoming manipulators ourselves? By asking tough questions, we open ourselves to introspection that leads to healthier relationships. In conclusion, as we navigate a world rife with manipulation, we have the capability to reclaim our power. By fostering awareness, establishing boundaries, and cultivating supportive environments, we can protect ourselves from manipulation while empowering others. As we close this exploration, the question remains, how can we remain vigilant against manipulation while ensuring we act ethically? The journey to understanding human behavior is ongoing, and with it comes the opportunity for growth and resilience. Gaslighting is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it truly mean? At its core, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where one person seeks to make another doubt their reality, memory, or perceptions. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner constantly tells you that you're forgetting things or that events you clearly remember never happened. Over time, this relentless distortion of truth can lead a person to question their sanity. The term originates from the 1938 play Gaslight and has since evolved into a widely understood concept in psychology. It is an insidious tactic often utilized by narcissists or abusive individuals to exert control over their victims. One notable case, that of a woman named Anna, illustrates just how profound gaslighting can be. Anna found herself in a tumultuous relationship where her partner, Mark, would frequently contradict her memories. Whenever she brought up his problematic behaviors, he would deny them vehemently, turning the tables and accusing her of being irrational. The more Anna experienced this, the more isolated she felt, leading to anxiety and depression. Research indicates that gaslighting can trigger significant psychological distress, with a study published in the Journal of Interpersonal Violence showing that victims often experience PTSD-like symptoms. As we delve deeper into the world of gaslighting, we uncover not only its mechanics but also its impact. Understanding the red flags of gaslighting is crucial. These include consistent denial of wrongdoing, constant demands for proof, and undermining your self-esteem. So what can you do if you suspect you are being gaslit? The first step is recognizing the signs. Keep a journal of your experiences and emotions to hold on to your reality. Seeking support from trusted friends or professionals can also provide perspective and validate your feelings. As we explore further, we'll reveal not only how to identify gaslighting but also how to escape its clutches, equipping you with tools to reclaim your true self. Have you ever wondered why we often comply with authority figures, even when it goes against our moral compass? In the 1960s, social psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a groundbreaking experiment that highlighted the power of authority in shaping human behavior. In his study, participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a learner whenever they answered questions incorrectly. Shockingly, a significant number of participants continued delivering shocks, even when they believed the learner was in severe pain, simply because an authoritative figure was present urging them to proceed. Milgram's findings revealed a disturbing truth about human nature: many of us are willing to forsake our ethics and empathy in favor of conformity. The implications of this understanding are profound. In real-world scenarios, this obedience to authority can lead to catastrophic outcomes, from the horrors of war crimes to unethical practices in corporate settings. Consider the case of the Abu Ghraib scandal. Military personnel engaged in horrendous acts against prisoners, justifying their actions by claiming allegiance to orders. Why do we relinquish our autonomy so easily? Milgram's work suggests it's built into our social structures. We receive social cues from authority figures, be it police officers, teachers, or corporate leaders, that often compel us to accept their directions without question. This chapter will delve into other experiments in social psychology that illustrate obedience, including the Stanford Prison experiment conducted by Philip Zimbardo. Zimbardo created a fake prison environment and assigned roles as guards and inmates, leading to tragic consequences as the guards adopted abusive behaviors. As we reflect on these chilling examples, we must ask ourselves, how can we cultivate a sense of moral agency while navigating authority? We'll explore strategies to develop critical thinking skills and the importance of questioning authority, empowering ourselves to take action when faced with unethical orders. Fear is a powerful motivator, often driving people to actions they wouldn't normally take. Manipulators exploit fear as a tactic to gain control over others, making it one of the most effective methods of persuasion. From marketing strategies that use fear of missing out to political rhetoric that instills anxiety, the weaponization of fear is everywhere. Think about it: how often do you see a commercial that plays on your fears, whether it's about your health, finances, or the safety of your family? A study conducted by the University of Southern California found that fear-based messaging significantly increases engagement and compliance. One notable case is the anti-terrorism campaign launched in the U.S. post 9/11, which utilized fear as a catalyst for policy changes and heightened security measures. The narrative surrounded the idea that we were constantly under threat, leading to widespread compliance with invasive practices. This manipulation was not limited to politics, it penetrated personal relationships as well. For example, a person might wield the fear of abandonment to control their partner's actions, saying things like, "If you leave me, I'll be all alone." The result? A dynamic where one individual feels trapped, unable to escape due to the manipulation of fear. So how do we recognize when fear is being used against us? Learning to identify emotional blackmail is key. Ask yourself, is this fear rational or being exaggerated to elicit a response? You can reclaim your power by confronting these fears head-on rather than allowing them to dictate your choices. In this chapter, we will discuss methods of desensitization to fear tactics and ways to cultivate resilience in the face of fear-based manipulation. By understanding the mechanisms behind this powerful tool of manipulation, we can break free from its chains and learn to trust our instincts instead of our fears. In our daily lives, we're constantly influenced by a multitude of factors, some subtle and others overt. Have you ever wondered why you seem to gravitate towards certain products or ideas? This phenomenon is rooted in what psychologists call the science of influence. It's not just about what we buy, it's about how we perceive the world around us and how others shape those perceptions. In this chapter, we will explore pivotal studies conducted by psychologists like Robert Cialdini, who identified the 6 principles of influence: reciprocity, commitment, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. Reciprocity is a powerful tool. Imagine this: you walk into a coffee shop, and the barista offers you a free sample of a new pastry. You're not just getting a taste, you're feeling a sense of obligation. Research by Cialdini shows that when someone does something for us, we naturally feel compelled to return the favor. This is a fundamental aspect of human interaction that manipulators often exploit. Next is commitment. This principle highlights how once we agree to something small, we are more likely to comply with a larger request later. Think about the last time you signed up for a newsletter. That small act of commitment can easily lead to more significant purchases down the line. A classic example is from a study done in the 1960s with homeowners in California. Researchers asked them to put a small sign in their yards promoting safe driving. Weeks later, they found that those same homeowners were significantly more likely to agree to a bigger request, putting up a much larger and more obtrusive sign. Social proof is another fascinating principle. When we're uncertain, we look to others for guidance. This tendency is not limited to humans, it's evident in nature as well. For instance, during a social experiment in a crowded elevator, researchers found that when one person faced the back wall, others would do the same without questioning why. It highlights how deeply entrenched our social instincts are and how easily we can be led. Authority plays a crucial role in influence too. This principle was famously demonstrated by Stanley Milgram in his shocking experiments that tested obedience to authority figures. Milgram's findings showed that ordinary people would carry out potentially harmful actions when instructed by an authority figure, raising ethical questions about our willingness to yield to manipulation. The liking principle suggests that we're more likely to be influenced by those we like. This is why salespeople often find common ground with potential customers. Establishing rapport can lead to a sale. Lastly, scarcity indicates that we value things more when they are perceived as limited. This is why you see phrases like "only a few left" or "act now." Understanding these principles not only helps us recognize influence but also empowers us to use it ethically. As we conclude this chapter, remember that knowledge is power. But the question remains, how can we protect ourselves from those who exploit these principles for their own gain? Every manipulator has a toolkit, a set of strategies they deploy to gain control over others. Understanding this playbook is crucial for anyone looking to protect themselves from these tactics. Let's delve deeply into the various techniques outlined in this playbook. First, we'll discuss guilt tripping, a method designed to make someone feel bad for not conforming to the manipulator's wishes. It plays on emotions, essentially weaponizing empathy. Consider the classic scenario of a friend who, after you've turned down their invitation, says, "I thought you cared about our friendship." This not-so-subtle emotional manipulation can lead to significant internal conflict. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology showed that guilt can significantly increase compliance, making it a favored tool in many relational dynamics. Next is love bombing, a tactic often used in abusive relationships where the manipulator showers their target with affection and attention to gain trust and dependence. This can set the stage for long-term control. The cycle of love bombing often leads into a phase of emotional neglect or abusive behavior, creating a volatile dependency. A poignant example of this manipulation can be seen in many high-control groups or cults, where initial overwhelming love and acceptance turn into strict control and isolation. Next, let's discuss the use of flattery. Compliments can be disarming, creating a false sense of security. A manipulator might tell you, "You're the smartest person in the room," fostering a bond that may lead you to lower your defenses. While compliments can be genuine, in the hands of a manipulator, they become tools of influence designed to create blind spots. This taps into our innate desire for approval and can cloud our judgment, making us more susceptible to subsequent requests. Another common technique is triangulation. This involves involving a third party to create conflict or confusion, often leaving the manipulated party questioning their own perspective. Imagine you have a disagreement with a friend, and they bring in another mutual friend to mediate, but instead, they sway the narrative in their favor. This can lead to feelings of isolation and mistrust, making the manipulated individual more dependent on the manipulator for validation. The next strategy is gaslighting, a psychological manipulation method used to make someone doubt their own perceptions or reality. The term originates from a 1938 play called Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's losing her mind. Gaslighting can lead to severe emotional and psychological distress. Victims often feel confused and anxious. In many workplace scenarios, colleagues may downplay your contributions, causing you to second-guess your work and self-worth. Let's not forget about the tactic of creating false dilemmas. This manipulative strategy presents limited choices to restrict your decision-making. A common example occurs in negotiations where one party insists, "You can either agree to my terms or risk losing this opportunity." This tactic creates a sense of urgency, forcing decisions that may not align with your best interests. Finally, we arrive at emotional withdrawal. A manipulator may suddenly stop showing affection or attention to exert control. This tactic is often used in personal relationships, causing profound emotional turmoil for the victim. Understanding these tactics is not just about recognizing them, it's about realizing the emotional toll they can take and learning how to reclaim your autonomy. As we wrap up this chapter, it's crucial to remember that knowledge about manipulation can be the first step in reclaiming your decision-making power. But, how do we then strengthen our defenses against these tactics? Manipulation can leave deep scars on personal relationships, from friendships to romantic partnerships. It's essential to recognize how these tactics affect dynamics and individual well-being. Let's take a closer look at the relationship aspects that manipulation can harm. First, let's explore how manipulation breeds mistrust. When manipulation becomes a recurring element in a relationship, it creates a toxic environment where authenticity is questioned. Think of a friendship where one person frequently uses guilt to get what they want. Over time, the manipulated person may feel unsure of their friend's intentions. According to research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, relationships characterized by manipulative behaviors tend to have lower levels of trust and satisfaction. This erosion of trust can lead to further manipulation and emotional distress, creating a vicious circle that's hard to escape. Next, let's discuss emotional volatility. Manipulated individuals often experience a roller coaster of emotions, fluctuating between elation when receiving affection and despair when confronted with manipulation tactics. This emotional instability can lead to anxiety and depression. A study shown in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology highlighted that emotional volatility in relationships can trigger a host of mental health issues, as the brain struggles to cope with constant emotional shifts. Conflict resolution becomes another grave issue in relationships marred by manipulation. Instead of confronting issues head-on, manipulated individuals may find themselves playing a game of emotional chess, trying to navigate through the manipulator's tactics. This complicates communication, leading to unresolved conflicts and resentment. A neutral space with open communication is replaced by confusion and hostility. Let's not forget about the idea of codependency that often arises in manipulative relationships. This occurs when one partner relies excessively on the other for emotional support, often nurtured through manipulation. For instance, a manipulator might present themselves as the only source of comfort in times of distress, leading to dependency. Breakdowns in independence can ensue, where one partner feels incapable of making decisions without the other. Research suggests that codependent relationships can often mirror the dynamics of addiction, leading to detrimental effects on both parties' emotional health. Finally, the impact of manipulation can extend beyond the couple to affect one's circle of friends and family. When manipulation is present, individuals may pull away from their support systems, feeling ashamed or confused about their situation. A study from the Journal of Marriage and Family concluded that manipulative behavior can create isolation, as the manipulated partner often feels the need to hide their experiences out of fear of judgment. This isolation further entrenches them in the manipulative relationship, creating a dependency that is difficult to break. It's clear that the impact of manipulation on relationships is profound and far-reaching. Recognizing these patterns can be the first step toward healing and breaking free from destructive dynamics. But how can individuals start to reclaim their sense of self and rebuild healthy relationships? Manipulation often occurs beneath our radar, cloaked in subtlety and nuance. To understand it fully, we must explore how language plays a pivotal role. Words can be wielded as weapons, shaping perceptions and persuading audiences without them even realizing it. Consider the term alternative facts. It was popularized by a political figure but serves as a classic example of how language manipulation can distort reality. When someone uses vague terminologies or euphemisms, they may be trying to obscure the truth, leaving listeners puzzled. In negotiations, the way we frame our language can shift power dynamics. A phrase like "I need your help" can create a sense of obligation in the other party. But what if we flip it? Instead of saying "you need to consider my proposal," one might say, "my proposal will significantly benefit you." This slight rephrasing can evoke feelings of reciprocity. Real-life scenarios abound where language manipulation has significant impacts. For instance, sales tactics often rely on this principle. When a car salesperson says, "This model is very popular, you'll have to act fast," they are creating a sense of urgency and social proof that compels a buyer to make a decision quickly, often without thorough consideration. Psychologists have long studied the implications of suggestive speech. Research conducted in 2014 revealed that people were more likely to believe false information when presented in a confident tone compared to a hesitant one. This finding underscores the importance of delivery in manipulation. What we say is just as crucial as how we say it. In everyday life, we encounter manipulative language in advertising, politics, and even within our personal relationships.